know we've talked about two sources of power in an airplane. What are they? What's number one? Okay, what's source of the power? What makes that power? The engine and gravity. Okay, so the engine is what we depend on most. Gravity is always there. Always. You've got a lot more options with an engine running and operating properly than you do with gravity. Gravity is only going to take you to the ground. And it'll give you something, the more altitude you have, you have more time to make a decision as to where to actually land the airplane. But the engine just makes it pretty simple and all that. All right, an aircraft engine, what does it look like? Can you see that? Okay, this is what an aircraft engine looks like inside the airplane. It's obviously up front, and you know, I was smart to figure out the engines up front. There you go, you're right. Okay, this is basically what it looks like. What does it consist of? Let me get over here. You can see or not. Yes, ma'am. Can you what? Can you get a picture? A pencil. You showed up to my class without a pencil? Okay. This is basically what the engine looks like. It's got, we call these things right here cylinder. Cylinders. Now I don't expect you to remember all of this. I just want you to get the basic idea of what we're talking about and how it works. These are cylinders. The airplane engine in the normal training airplane, which the most popular is a Cessna 172. However, there are other ones out there. But most airplane engines in a normal training airplane are 4 cylinders, and a lot of them are fuel injected, and a lot of them are carbureted. Carbureted engine doesn't have, obviously is different than a fuel injection. Fuel injection squirts fuel straight into the cylinder. Carbureted, it mixes the fuel with the air and pulls it into the cylinder. Is the way that works. And carbureted is a little more complicated, and you can have some problems with carbureted engines a little more than you can with fuel injection. Fuel injection is a little bit more reliable. Most engines we have in modern 172s are fuel injected. Okay. This right here is a cylinder. Let's see if I can just get a picture of a cylinder. Well, that's all it is. Look at it. What this does is right here, this is attached to what we call a crankshaft. What is a crankshaft? What does a crankshaft look like? A crankshaft is this thing right here. This is a crankshaft. Oops. This is the crankshaft. This right here. And this.
You want to make that bigger?
How do you do that? Oh, there you are. Okay. Good, good. Okay. I'm in your way. You can't see. This is the front end. This is where the propeller bolts on. The propeller bolts on to the crankshaft. Shaft, this could be called a shaft. Would you let him in, please? Just grab your seat, come on up here. This could be called a shaft. A shaft is a straight, long tube that's used to, you can bolt things to, attach things to it, and it can rotate. Generally it rotates and it goes around, and it creates energy, it drives it. In order for this shaft to turn, it has to be retained, or a piece of metal on each end. There's a metal on this end and metal on this end. In order to prevent that metal from getting very, very hot due to friction. What's friction? You know what friction is? Two objects rubbed together. Yes. Yes. As this shaft turns, if this thing turns like this, and I've got a piece of metal on the back side and a piece of metal on the front side, where it fits into those pieces of metal is going to create friction. So we put what we call a bearing. And a bearing is sometimes a series of small marbles, small metal marbles, or it's a little more softer metal that's basically a sleeve, and it can fit into that sleeve. We call that a bearing also. So and then we introduce oil in there to keep those bearings lubricated to where they don't get too hot and they don't wear the shaft down and wear it down here. So oil lubrication is extremely important in an aircraft engine. Oil does two things. It lubricates the engine and it keeps it cool. The oil runs through an oil cooler and it keeps it cool. And that cool oil comes into these right here, oil passageways. You see there, right there, oil passageways. Oil is injected inside this shaft and it gets in those passageways and it distributes around the connecting rod, and the connecting rod is connected to the piston, and the piston moves up and down. And the lubrication is a big deal, because it keeps it cool and it keeps it slick, where it moves without creating a lot of friction. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's good right there. Right there. We're back with our engine. Here's the whole engine, and then we have the cylinder. This is the cylinder. Can you throw that up right there? Yes. Okay. Inside the cylinder is connected. This is what we call a connecting rod. This is, people just short, they call it rod. This is a piston, and this is the crankshaft. Right here's the part of the crankshaft. As this crankshaft turns, like this, as it turns, it moves this part of the crankshaft up. It comes up, and that pushes this rod. The connecting rod is attached to the piston, and it pushes the piston up. Inside this is a cylinder, and it pushes it up in there. The gap here is closed. We have what we call rings. We've got rings that go around this piston. There's 3 of them, some cylinders have 4, and they are lubricated with oil again to keep them from wearing that much and to keep them cool. And this piston moves up and down. That gap that you see right there is closed by those rings. The rings contact the cylinder wall, and that prevents air from moving past this cylinder, or this piston. When the piston comes up, like that, that piston comes up, what air is captured in there is compressed. What does compressed mean? It's mashed. It's compressed. Okay? And it compresses that air. Alright? This right here is what we call an exhaust valve, and this is what we call an intake valve. The intake valve opens, and the exhaust valve can open, but they don't open at the same time. The intake valve allows fuel mixed with the appropriate amount of air to move into the cylinder. When that fuel is pulled into that cylinder, as the piston goes down, this comes around and the piston goes down, the fuel is pulled into that cylinder, into this big compartment right here. It's pulled into there. When this gets all the way down, that valve closes. No more fuel is allowed to go in there. When this comes around and back up, this valve is closed and this valve is closed. So that air inside that cylinder is compressed, it's mashed, and it's compressed, and the fuel is compressed in there with it. There is a spark plug in here somewhere that I don't have a picture of right now because basically I'm unprepared. And once this piston gets to the top, that spark plug ignites and it creates a spark. That spark ignites that fuel-air mixture in here that is compressed, and it burns real fast. It doesn't explode, it burns fast. Burning creates heat, obviously, and heat causes air to expand. So when that fuel-air mixture is mixed and you burn it, it's going to expand rapidly. It's almost like an explosion, but it is not an explosion. It expands rapidly. That rapid expansion, all of this is at the top, this is over here on this side, just getting ready to come down. that rapid expansion pushes this piston down. When it is pushed down, it turns that crankshaft. So that's what turns the crankshaft. It's the rapid expansion of the fuel burning and pushing this piston down, and it pushes it down. Once it gets to the bottom, starts back up the other side. This valve stays closed. This valve opens, and it pushes that burnt air or exhaust out of the cylinder and gets it out of the way for the next revolution. And it gets out of the way, and it comes down, and it's pushed down again, and that opens this valve. It's pushed down, and the valve pulls in more fuel-air mixture, and that's the cycle that this thing runs in, and that's how this thing works. Okay, there's going to be a written test, and I expect you to write down all of that stuff that I just told you and rehearse it. Just kidding. Not too many people know this. So, and I don't expect you to know it. I just want you to have a basic idea of how this thing works. And I don't want to get into it too deep. And that's the way that works. Okay, go back to our okay, right here. All right. This is your aircraft engine. These are the cylinders right here. Now this is not your typical training aircraft. This is a high compression, it's a high powered engine, and it is, this is what it looks like when it's inside the airplane. This thing right here. This up here is where the fuel air mixture comes into those cylinders. It's sucked down through that valve and into the cylinder. And as it turns, as the crankshaft turns, it pulls it down in there. Once you start the engine, in the operating sequence of the engine, the valves, intake valves are open and in comes fuel. Once that fuel is burned, the exhaust valve opens and it's pulled out of the engine, and it goes through the exhaust system and comes out this pipe right here. So, if the exhaust gas is hot, if it's burned, it's going to be hot, right? So if you're pre-flight an airplane that just came in and just landed, are you going to touch this exhaust pipe? Why not? It's hot. So be careful. After it sits there for, I don't know, 10 minutes, it'll cool down. To get a mechanic to work on the airplane, you're going to have to let the engine cool down. That takes about an hour for the engine to cool down. So you have to have an idea of what that stuff is all about. Okay. This stuff is very boring. I don't expect you to maintain the attention or attentiveness that some people would, but, so I'm going to turn you loose here in a couple of minutes. You can go outside and move around and wake up. But there's one other thing I'm going to talk about. That's good right there. What produces the spark that goes to, or what produces the electrical current that goes to the spark plug? We have what we call a magneto. The magneto produces an electrical spark, or produces an electrical current. That electrical current is moved through these wires to a specific cylinder. Now, this is a 6-cylinder engine. You got 3 cylinders on this side and 3 cylinders on the other side that you cannot see. And in all airplanes, we have redundant systems. What does redundant mean? Anybody know? What's a redundant system? A redundant system is an additional secondary system. It's 2 systems. You've got a magneto that pulls the cylinders on the right side and the left side, and you've got another magneto that pulls the cylinders on the opposite sides. In other words, if the right magneto is supplying the right side cylinders, or top plug, you've got spark plugs there's 2 spark plugs in an aircraft engine. One on the top and one on the bottom. Okay? The magneto supplies electricity to those spark plugs. And there's 2 magnetos, and they supply the electricity to the opposite one, that the other one supplies the electricity. I don't expect you to remember the sequence of all of this. I'm trying to get you to understand the principle of redundancy. It's 2 of them. We have redundant systems on airplanes. Every system in the airplane, there's 2 of them. And that's what that's all about. So, does a magneto have to have a battery? No. A magneto will run without a battery. It just has to turn. The crankshaft turns and it's connected to the magneto. The turning of the crankshaft causes the shaft inside the magneto to turn. That produces the electricity. So there's no external. What's external mean? External. External means outside. Outside. There's no outside system to support this. It's all self-contained. All of it. And that way, if the battery stops working, if something goes wrong with the airplane, it'll still get power. That's why we have a redundant system. Okay? Make sense? All right. Let's go outside, move around, run around, try to stay awake. Be back in here in about 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll put you to sleep again. Okay, guys. I know this is boring, but if you fall asleep, I'm going to kill you. Not really. It's not very long. It's kind of short. We've always gone to get the lunch, all of that. So sit through it. You need to have a basic idea why this engine keeps running. You need to understand that in order to do this. I think you tell me. You want to move up here where you can see it, or you want to stay where you are? That way you can hide your eyes and I don't know you're sitting right.
Y'all see this?
Where do you want? Can y'all see? Okay. We're going to go ahead and run this. There's several things that I want you to really take away from this. Number one, there's 2 systems. There's not just one system. You're not up there at night, over the water, by yourself, depending on one spark plug. There's two. So I want you to understand that. And the maintenance on aircraft systems, maintenance means working on them, keeping them up, taking care of them, is very, very closely supervised and regulated, and there's a lot of work that goes into keeping these airplanes running. So it's not just, okay, haphazard, put together with baling wire and duct tape. There's a lot to it. So, redundant systems and a lot of engineering gone into this. These systems have been out there for 100 years. And they're working. They're reliable. Okay.
We just learned about the basic parts of an airplane and how it is controlled. But it's equally as important for us to understand how the power is generated to move the airplane through the air. An airplane has an engine, which is commonly referred to as a power plant. The reason behind this name is simple. The engine not only powers the airplane to move it through the air, it also has other components attached to it in order to create electricity, vacuum suction, and heat, just to name a few. The power plant of an airplane, like an engine of a car, is one of the most important components, because without it, there is no way to get the plane off the ground. Aviation engines can be separated into two groups: reciprocating engines and turbine engines. While most airlines and corporate airplanes use turbine-powered airplanes, general aviation and training aircraft are equipped with reciprocating engines.
That's what you've got.
Reciprocating engines have several cylinders. Inside of those cylinders, fuel and air are mixed, compressed, and then ignited. As this fuel-air mixture is ignited, its explosive force moves the piston inward. These pistons are connected to a crankshaft, and when the pistons move in and out, that causes the crankshaft to rotate. The propeller is connected to the crankshaft, so as the crankshaft rotates, so does the propeller. The cylinders undergo a continuous four-stroke cycle. The four strokes are called intake, compression, power, and exhaust. The first stroke, the intake stroke, is when the piston inside the cylinder moves away from the cylinder head. As the piston moves away, the intake valve opens, and the fuel-air mixture is sucked into the cylinder's combustion chamber. Once the piston has reached the base of the cylinder, it's time for the second stroke, compression. During this phase, the intake valve is closed, and the piston reverses direction, moving back towards the cylinder head. This compresses the fuel-air mixture, since it has nowhere to escape. Once the piston approaches the top of the cylinder, we begin the third stroke, power. Two spark plugs at the head of the cylinder each let off a spark, which ignites the fuel mixture and makes it combust. This controlled explosion pushes the piston back inward towards the base of the cylinder, which in turn rotates the crankshaft, therefore the propeller. Finally, we reach the last stroke, exhaust. During this phase, the exhaust valve opens, and the piston moves back towards the cylinder head, pushing out the combusted gases, commonly called exhaust. Then the process starts all over again, repeating the process thousands of times every minute. On a typical four-cylinder engine, each one of the cylinders is in the middle of a different stroke. That way, one cylinder is always in the power stroke, and the engine is able to keep the crankshaft rotating, thereby allowing the remaining cylinders to go through their respective stroke.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with physical products. It's Amazon's other company, Audible. Audible pays me $8,000 to $10,000 every single.
As we just saw in these four strokes, there are two valves at the head of each cylinder that open and close to allow the fuel mixture in and the exhaust gases out. But what controls those valves? That would be a camshaft. camshaft is a rotating cylinder situated above the crankshaft with various oblong lobes protruding from it. These lobes push on rods that connect to each valve, pushing them open. The valves are spring-loaded and will return to the closed position when the camshaft lobes move away from their respective rod. Getting the valves to open at the exact moment is very crucial for the engine to operate. Because of that, the camshaft is geared to the crankshaft so they will remain synchronized. The camshaft is geared to spin half as fast as the crankshaft. This result.
Synchronized. What does synchronized mean? Moving together. You buy that? Okay. If they didn't move together, you'd have a problem.
In the valves opening twice during the 4-stroke cycle. Now, how do we get the fuel and air into the cylinders? It's simple. The induction system. Inside the cockpit of most general aviation aircraft, there are the throttle and mixture controls. The throttle controls the amount of fuel and air that go into the cylinders, while the mixture controls how much fuel is mixed with the air. In simple terms, the mixture controls the ratio between fuel and air.
Let me ask you guys something. Have any of you ever been to the Rocky Mountains? You have? How about you guys? Have you ever been to any mountains, the Smokies? You guys are well traveled. Good for you. You been to the Smokies? Huh? 8 mountains. When you go higher up, the air that you breathe is thinner. Okay? In other words, the whatever is in the air is there's not as much of it the higher you go. So
My mom said that when you're climbing up Everett, the hiking coaches go all the way up and just stands. They go up and then they go down, up, and that's where your air level is.
exactly right. Yes. She's looked into that. So what we have is the air that you're breathing right here, and we are at sea level. That's where the air is the heaviest, is at sea level. That air contains about 20% oxygen. Oxygen is what you need to breathe inside your body for your body to function, for your body to work. You need oxygen. So of that, if we've got 20% of the total air that we breathe, that means if we pull into our lungs this much air, we're only using this much. Does that make sense to you? This is about 20%. Okay. So really, all we need to function is about 20% of all of the surrounding air at sea level. As you go higher, the air gets what? Thinner. Right? Gets thinner. Okay. As the air gets thinner, if you need this much at sea level, how much are you going to need higher? This much. Does that make sense? An engine functions almost on the same principle that your body functions. You know what does function mean? Works. The engine works on about the same principle as your body. So, on the ground, at sea level, the engine needs this much air to function properly. If you go higher, it needs this much air. The reason for that is the fuel mixture, how much fuel you have mixed with the surrounding air determines how efficiently the engine is going to run, just like your body. So, if you cannot regulate the amount of air or the amount of oxygen that you're pulling in to get the proper mixture, when you go higher, you're getting this much oxygen, but you're getting not in, and the fuel doesn't change. So we have what we call a mixture control. The mixture control we're going to talk about here. The mixture control reduces the amount of fuel that goes into the engine. You can't change the amount of air because it's outside. But you can change the amount of fuel. Does that make sense to you guys? Does it? A little bit. Well, at least you're honest. That's good.
Typically, for every fuel molecule, there are 15 air molecules. The mixture adjusts the amount of fuel necessary to maintain this ratio. The throttle, on the other hand, controls how much of that ratio is let into the cylinders. The more the throttle is open, the more fuel and air enter the cylinders, and therefore, the more powerful the combustion will be, making the engine run faster. The air that is part of the fuel-air mixture enters the system in the air filter, usually found in the front of the airplane. Once the air passes through the filter, it is metered and sent on its way to the cylinders. The fuel, on the other hand, is housed on board the plane, typically inside of the wings. Just like the air, it is metered and then sent to the cylinders. There are two different potential systems used that can control the fuel-air mixture: the carburetor system and the fuel injection system. Most modern airplanes are equipped with fuel injection systems, so we'll spend a little more time on that, but it's a good idea to still review the basics of a carburetor.
All in the ends. It's all in the ends. It's all in.
The job of the carburetor is to mix fuel with air that gets sent to the cylinder combustion chambers. Fuel arrives at the carburetor and sits in the float chamber, waiting to be used. To the side of the float chamber is the venturi, which is where the air passes through. As the air passes through the venturi, its velocity increases, which causes the pressure.
Venturi, that's another thing you're going to hear a lot about in aviation. Air comes in here and is squeezed. It's smaller in here than it is out here, and it comes in and it goes out here. So, it comes in here and down here. This squeezes that air. It's got to go through that air. Well, you're taking the same amount of air and pushing it through a hole, and you're making the hole smaller. So that's going to squeeze the fuel. Once it gets through, it bursts out. It comes out. Whenever, and that's pressure. If pressure increases here and decreases here, whenever pressure changes, temperature changes. So if pressure goes from high to low, the temperature at that area gets cold. high to low, cold temperature. If the pressure goes from low to high, it gets hot. The temperature gets warm. So the temperature is a change. When pressure changes, temperature changes. And that is a basic law of physics, and I'm sure you can't understand why you didn't learn that as a little bitty guy. I'm kidding.
Sure, to decrease. Towards the bottom of the venturi, we find a fuel discharge nozzle, which is located near the area of low pressure. This draws the fuel out from the float chamber through the nozzle and mixes it with the air. Just past the venturi is the throttle valve. This controls how much of the fuel-air mixture is being sent to the cylinders. In newer airplanes, fuel injection systems are installed, which have many benefits over carbureted engines. Fuel injection engines reduce the amount of fuel required, increase engine power output, and allow for the precise use of the fuel. Rather than having a carburetor, a fuel-injected system is split up into different components. These consist of fuel pumps, a fuel control unit, a fuel manifold valve, and finally, fuel discharge nozzles. The fuel pump pumps fuel from the fuel tanks into the fuel control unit. Then, the fuel control unit regulates the specific amount of fuel needed based on the mixture and throttle settings. The fuel then gets sent to the fuel manifold valve, where it is dispersed and heads to the nozzles of each cylinder. This time, the fuel does not mix with the air until immediately before entering the combustion chamber. Now that we've discussed how we get fuel and air into the cylinders, let's talk about how we get that mixture to ignite. The ignition system is what provides the spark to the mixture. The major components of the ignition system include the magnetos, the spark plugs, wires, and the ignition switch.
Okay, ignite. What does ignite mean? Ignite. Ignite. I-G. Ignite. What? To light up. Yes, it catches fire. It ignites.
Just as its name implies, a magneto consists of a rotating magnet that generates sparks of electricity. The spark that is generated is independent of the airplane's electrical system. That means if the airplane's electrical system were to fail, the magnetos would still be able to generate sparks for the engine to run. The energy generated from the magnetos is sent to the spark plugs. The spark plugs then release that energy, which ignites the fuel-air mixture, creating power to turn the propeller. Most airplanes have two magnetos, multiple sets of wires, and two spark plugs per cylinder in order to increase efficiency and reliability of the system.
Okay. You got a spark plug on the top, right there, and you got one on the bottom, right down there. So this cylinder has two spark plugs. The magneto, this is the right mag, this is the left mag. The left mag goes to the top plugs on the left side and the bottom plugs on the right side. The right mag goes to the bottom plugs on the left side and the top plugs on the right side. The bottom plugs, gravity is going to affect if something is in that cylinder that has weight at all, it's going to drop down to the bottom. So if there's excessive fuel or there's contamination in the fuel, it's going to drop down to the bottom plug. It could cause that plug to, the spark plug has a little electrode on it, and there's a gap in that electrode where that spark is. if that spark does not spark, if it doesn't create a spark, you're not going to, that cylinder's not going to fire. So, that's why we've got one magnet running the top plugs on one side and the bottom plugs on the other side. If the bottom plugs foul, and what's foul mean? What is foul? Fail, yes. If they fail, if the bottom plugs fail, that means the whole engine's not going to quit. Okay.
One magneto fails, or one spark plug fails, the engine will still run. However, power output will be slightly reduced as the engine is operating less efficiently. The last component is the ignition switch, which is a pilot's way of controlling magnetos. In most general aviation aircraft, the switch is labeled off, right, left, mode, and start. If the switch was to be placed off, then the magnetos would not be able to power the spark plugs. Therefore, the engine would not be able to run, it would turn off. If the switch was placed in the right or left position, only that respective magneto would be powering its spark plugs. If the switch was positioned on the both selector, which is its normal position in flight, both magnetos would be powering the spark plugs. Finally, the start position. This engages the starter, which turns the crankshaft to start the engine. In the cylinders, the spark plugs ignite the fuel-air mixture, moving the piston in the power stroke. However, there are a few
Top plug, bottom plug, piston, piston rings, intake valve, and the exhaust valve is on the other side. That's what these are. These things right here are what we call cooling fins. They get hot because of all of this friction in here. They transmit heat from these solid walls into these cooling fins. That heat gets here, and the air that's fed around the cowling comes through here and is forced over these cooling fins. Cool air comes down through around the cylinder and out the bottom of the engine cowling. That's what keeps it cool. In a car, you have liquid cool. You have water and a radiator.
normal conditions that can affect the performance of the engine. The first one is called detonation. Detonation is the uncontrolled explosive ignition of the fuel-air mixture inside of the cylinders. It results in high temperatures and pressures, which can cause cylinder damage. Detonation can happen for a variety of reasons, including using a lower grade fuel than what is recommended, high power settings with the mixture set too lean, or climbing too steeply with cylinder heads not cooling appropriately.
Lean. What does lean mean? Lean. Have you heard the term lean? L-E-A-N, lean? Lean is not much, less. A lean mixture in an airplane is less fuel. More air, less fuel. Lean hamburger meat in the grocery store is less fat in the hamburger meat. Lean is less.
If detonation is occurring, the pilot should reduce the power and increase the mixture, which will allow for better cylinder cooling. Another issue that can develop is pre-ignition. Just as you'd expect, pre-ignition is simply when the fuel-air mixture is ignited prior to its normal time. This phenomenon usually occurs because of a lingering hot spot on the cylinder wall, usually caused by a carbon deposit that is hot enough to ignite the fuel-air mixture. Even when the engine isn't detonating or experiencing pre-ignition, the temperature of the engine can get quite hot. Like car engines, airplane engines have a cooling system in order to prevent engine damage or engine failure. There are two major ways we cool our engine: oil and air. Oil passes through an oil cooler and proceeds to not only lubricate, but also cool the engine. As the cool oil touches the hot engine, there is a heat exchange, meaning that the oil becomes warmer, but the engine cooler. Then the oil returns back to the oil filter and oil cooler, and the process starts over. However, we also use air to cool our engines. As the airplane flies through the air, outside air flows through inlets usually found in the front of the airplane like the Cessna 172. This outside air is colder than the engine, so as the air flows over the engine, it cools it in the same manner that the oil cools the engine. This method of cooling can be severely restricted, however. When the airplane is running at high power and at very low speeds, such as when climbing, airflow is minimized, causing higher temperatures. The last step in the four-stroke cycle is the exhaust. The exhaust system has a dual purpose in most general aviation airplanes. As expected, the exhaust system does allow the hot exhaust gases in the cylinder to escape the engine in a quiet manner. Additionally, as we'll talk about later, the exhaust system also provides heat to the cabin. Now that we have a better understanding of how an engine basically works, we will examine what creates the thrust for the airplane to fly. Remember that as the combustion occurs in the cylinder, the pistons rotate the crankshaft, which directly drives the propeller. The propeller, when closely examined, is actually twisted. This is simply to create equal thrust along the propeller blade. Since the propeller rotates around its hub or center, the further the propeller extends out of that hub, the faster it spins. To create equal force throughout, manufacturers twist the blade. There are two major types of propellers: fixed pitch propellers.
Have any of you ever seen on television the ice capades where they get they get a bunch of dancers out there in a big ice skating rink, and they're going around, and two of them are in the middle, and they're going in a circle, and then two more come out there and join them, and they're going in a circle, and two more come out there and join them. Well, the ones in the middle don't have so far to go, and don't have to go so fast. But when it gets to the outside, what happens? Huh? Yeah. I mean, they're stroking. They're getting out there as hard as they can go. So the inside, the closer you are in here, that doesn't turn as fast. But the outside is getting it. So that's the way that goes.
Propellers and constant speed propellers. The Cessna 172 is equipped with a fixed pitch propeller. This means that the pilot cannot manipulate the propeller blade. It is installed onto the airplane and will always remain exactly how it was installed. An airplane equipped with a fixed propeller only has the throttle to control the engine RPM and therefore propeller RPM. A constant speed propeller, such as the one on the Diamond DA-42, is more efficient than a fixed pitch propeller. With a constant speed propeller, the pilot can adjust the blade angle of the propeller to obtain maximum performance for different conditions of flight. Airplanes with a constant speed propeller are not only equipped with a throttle, which still controls the power created by the engine, but they are also equipped with a propeller control. This control, which is usually blue in color, allows the pilot to change the RPM of the propeller instead of just based on the engine's output.
That's why you've got that extra lever on the controls back there on the simulator. The black one is the throttle control, the blue one is the prop control, and the red one is the mixture control. But we don't have prop controls on the 172, and we're using the most 72 when we're supposed to. And so the prop control's got nothing to do with it.
Hey, Mr. Skip, I got a question on the prop control.
Yes, sir.
Do you have to be at a certain RPM in order to maneuver the prop control? Or can you maneuver it at any RPM? Or it depends on the plane, or?
It's got to be above a certain RPM on most of your constant speed controls, because some of them you can feather. They'll go like this. Most of them are just, mostly constant speed or feather. To answer your question, basically, yes. It's got to be above a certain RPM before you can get it to exercise the prop. And a lot of times when you're starting a cold engine, the oil is cold, it doesn't move as readily into the prop hub mechanism. The hub is what controls that oil flow, and it takes it a while to get there. So in the early stages of just starting the engine, the prop is not going to be as responsive until that oil temperature gets up to a reasonable temperature. That's one of the reasons you don't want to take off with cold oil. You want to let the oil reach a certain temperature before you take off, because your prop is not as responsive. Does that answer your question?
The reason this propeller is called constant speed is that when throttle movements are made, the RPM, or speed at which the propeller is rotating, will remain the same. This is accomplished by rotating the angle of the blades, which allows them to deflect different amounts of air.
Narrow is no good. That's why I wear these wide-fit, hands-free Skechers slippers. You just...
Okay. Thank God, that's it. All right. Hang on, man. My objective is you need to understand that the things that keep that thing in the air, the engine, it has redundant systems. What does redundant mean? Secondary systems. There's at least two systems. Some of them have three. Have redundant systems. You got redundant electrical systems. You got redundant hydraulic systems. You got redundant. You're not up there just relying on one system alone. There's at least two systems that make the airplane do what it's supposed to do, and that increases the reliability. The maintenance is very controlled, very regular, and good maintenance keeps that airplane in the air. Any questions? Anything at all? Okay, make a head call, get a drink of water and a tea.
Make sure you wash it again.
Good morning. Let's talk about engine failures. You're flying around and you have an engine failure. The motor quits. And you got to get that airplane on the ground. It's going to the ground. The objective is to control it and get it on the ground where you want it to go, where you think you can put it safely, and nobody gets hurt. You would like to do it with nothing getting damaged, but something's probably going to get damaged. But the main objective is nobody gets hurt bad. That's the objective. We're going to go ahead and show a YouTube video of an engine failure that you would have if you were a simulated engine failure that you would have in actual flight training and how you would handle it. And then we'll get back on the simulators and practice a couple of them. The objective is going to be to deal with the procedures and get the airplane on the ground safely and nobody gets hurt bad. The first and foremost thing that you've got to do is get the right speed and keep it. The more speed, the more time you have. If you have the right speed, the airplane is designed to go a specific time frame at specific speeds. So you want to go as far as you can, and you want to stay in the air as long as you can. And there's what we call the best glide speed. Best glide speed. The best glide speed in a 172, and there's different speeds for different models and so forth and so on, is about 70 knots. You want to get 70 knots. If you have an engine failure, get 70 knots first and foremost. Then, go through your procedure. First thing, checklist. Pull out the engine failure checklist. What does it say? It's going to say, what kind of engine failure do you have? Do you have an engine fire, or you just have an engine failure? And you go through the checklist, you go through the procedures, maintain 70 knots. That's your primary objective. Keep that speed. You will go as far as possible, and you will stay in the air as long as possible. The main reason for that is you need to be able to get your brain settled down where you can process information and you can make good, logical decisions. That's the big deal. You've got to be able to think. Remember, we talked yesterday about fight or flight. Your brain will shut down if you are frightened. So, you have to be able to control that. You have to be able to think. What will help you think is execute the proper procedures, do what you know how to do what you've already practiced, find a spot to put the airplane safely, and put it there. That's what this is all about. So, I'm going to let the YouTube do its thing.
You want to remember your ABC.
ABC.
Which would be best life. B would be best place to land, not just where you're going to land, but what direction you're going to land, obviously into it. And then C would be your checklist. There's going to be two checklists for an engine failure in flight, or I should say there's an engine failure flight checklist and then a forced landing checklist if the engine failure flight checklist doesn't restart your engine. Now, in most flight signals, best glide speed is going to look like your nose is just below the horizon. Of course, every plane has a best glide speed, and you want to use that speed. But a little trick, if you trim almost all the way nose up and take your hands off the controls, in almost every light signal out there, you're going to be at best glide speed. And here we are. About 65, stretching miles an hour in 150. And as you can see over the nose, that nose is just slightly below the horizon. When you identify where you're going to land, the technique that I like to use is we are going to make a beeline for the departure end of that runway. So if you spot runway 14, the departure of 14 is where we want to circle down. So I'm going to make a beeline And I'm going to get my checklist out and read my checklist. One of the little techniques that I also teach is have your emergency checklist set up basic when you pull the checklist out. So it's right there. So the inch plate your flight, there's B65, carb heat on, carburetor in locked, fuel shut-off valve on, mixture full rich, and then ignition switch in the start position or in the mode position and move it to the start position if the prop is stuck. If that doesn't restart the engine, we're going to continue with our best line speed, pull the mixture to the idle turn-off position, turn off the fuel, turn off the ignition switch, the flaps down as required, turn the master switch off, unlatch the doors prior to touchdown, and come in slightly tail off, and then 5 brakes after you touch down.
What's your airspeed?
2,500 feet and a light
79.
2,000 feet at the departure end of the runway you're going to land on. You want to turn your crosswind light. Most of these light single trainers will lose about 500 feet every time you do a 360. So if you circle down to 1,500 feet, that's when you would turn your crosswind in a heavier single like an Arrow or a Cherokee 6. You're going to start your crosswind turn at about 2,000 feet. So we're at 1,500 feet. We're not quite at the departure into 1-4. We're close enough. We're going to turn crosswind. The goal here is to be a beat the numbers at approximately cabin altitude, or about 1,000 feet off the ground. If you're a little bit low, that's okay. You would just turn your base a little bit sooner. If you're a little bit high, that's okay. You're going to be too high and too low, but either one of those can work out. You just turn when it's appropriate based on what your altitude is.
He's flying right downwind to 1-4. Right downwind.
And so now we're approaching a position where we're immediately approaching the 1-4. And we're at about 900 feet, so we're a little bit low, but that's okay.
Here's 1-4. That's the 180 point.
The numbers at 900 feet. And the only thing I have left to do now is remain within 5 distance of the runway. When you put your flaps down, it's really a matter of technique. I'm going to go ahead and put in 10 degrees of flaps here. Lower the nose just a little bit so I don't lose airspeed. My key point here, which is a 45-degree angle off the end of the runway, I'm going to make a right turn. Going to leave my flaps at 10 degrees for now. I don't want to overcommit my flaps.
70 knots. Big deal. Maintain 70 knots. Big deal. All right, he's on base leg right now, getting ready to turn final. Turning final.
And our short final, when I know that I can make it to the runway with full flaps, especially if I'm going to be landing not on a runway or a nice road, maybe have a rougher landing, maybe in the bushes or trees or whatever. We want to be touching down as slow as possible. So we're going to go ahead and put the flaps down for 30 degrees.
Full flap.
And I like to practice this to touch down right at the very end of the runway in case I have to put this thing into the Walmart parking lot. And as you can see, we landed real short on runway 14. With an 8.
Okay now. He's practicing that at an airport. If you're out somewhere, you're flying across country, or you're out in a practice area, and you're doing your training, and you're flying over, like what we're gonna do is, I think the simulators are set in California. They're in California now.
Yes.
They're in California. You got a lot of big open fields out there and everything. You're gonna have to pick a place to land. Choosing a place to land is one of the most difficult problems you're gonna run into. You may not like it, you may try to change your mind, you might get a little closer to it and don't like the way it looks, so forth and so on. It's very difficult. Try to pick one and keep it. I'm not saying you have to, but try to pick a spot where you're going to put the airplane and keep that spot. And you don't want to overshoot it and run off into a ditch or run into a tree line or run into a fence or something. If you pick a freeway, if you pick a road, something like that, you might run into a problem. So, you know, the last thing you do is you do an engine failure perfectly and put the airplane on the ground and you get run over by an 18-wheeler. That's not good. So, but that's what you do. The big thing is airspeed. Get your airspeed. It gives you more time to analyze the situation and make good decisions. If you can make a good decision, you're going to turn out a lot better. Don't get excited. Don't let your, people say don't panic. Well, that's hard to do. But don't get too excited. You can't make good decisions when you're too excited. Any questions? Okay. Who are we going to put there?
I'll take Brendan back there.
Brendan's going in the box.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll switch
Are
off.
you two working together? Is that what you want to do? Yes. Okay. You two go pick your spot. Who are you working with? Well, I'm afraid you're going to get stuck with him this time. Okay, you two work together. And how about you two?
Wait a minute.
Okay. No, wait a minute.
What you said, you want to do it like
That's a good idea.
2:45 or whatever, just before we. You need to be here.
Yeah, that's fine.
What
Hang on a minute. Cayman?
Yeah, that's going to take about half hour.
It's 2 o'clock now? Yeah.
About 2:45.
Come here.
45, 15 minutes.
Come here.
I can make sure I meet him over there.
I don't think the ladies know as much about this stuff as where they can get on it and work with each other. I think one of you guys, take one of them and you take the other and let your two brothers work together. What do you think of that?
One of y'all just take one of the ladies, because they probably need y'all and stuff.
Somebody's going to need to help them out because we haven't subjected them to this before. That wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be correct. So, okay. Are you using that one? All right, which one are you using? Okay, you're using that one. Okay. You go with Cayman, and you go with him. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice an engine failure in one of the California locations. What you need to do is you need to take off, you need to climb to 5,000 feet. Once you get to 5,000 feet on a heading, let me know and pause the simulator. Take off, get to 5,000 feet, pause the simulator, and we'll go from there.
Very nice takeoff. Nice takeoff.
Okay?
Easy, not too much. Not too much. Easy. There you go. Good takeoff. Yeah, you gotta show know how to crank. I'm sorry.
Mixture rich. Well, that's the one you gotta put in that. Yeah. There you go. Get to 5,000 feet, level off, get to going straight, and put it on, pause. And let her do what she can, and some of it she's not gonna understand. Let her do what she can, where she can at least learn something. Let her do what she can now. She's not gonna understand all of it, but, whatever she can understand, let her do it. You're doing a taxiway now, right? Yeah, you're doing a taxiway.
Oh. Okay, there we go.
Ty, remember, easy on the rudder, okay? Just like you're doing, easy on it.
Feet on the rudder pedals. Not the brakes, the brakes are the top. Feet on the rudder pedal. Keep your feet on the rudder pedal.
Stay right on.
Top. Come on, there you go. Come on, there, right there, right there. Get to 5,000 feet, level off, pause. You're at 5. Okay. You're almost. Yeah, you're there. Okay, go ahead and pause. You're at 5. Okay, you're at 5.
You got a couple hours to go.
Okay, that's fine. Now, what you want to do is you want to be aware of the terrain that you are over. In other words, what's on the ground below you? Is it trees? Is it mountains? Is it water? What? Are there places down there that it looks like you might be able to land this airplane? Now, you may have to move this panel. Can you get that far? I don't know. Have to see. You may be able to make it that far. I don't think you can. But then you've got these fields here. See these fields? You see how the rows are right there? The rows are running in this direction. You don't want to land across the rows. You want to land with the rows if you're landing in a row field. However, the wind is the primary factor. Which direction is the wind coming from? Let's say the wind is coming from the direction that you are going. And what is that direction? The wind is coming from, what is that? I can't read that number. Okay. The wind's coming from the northwest. The winds are out of the northwest, so you want to land on a northwesterly heading, anywhere 290 to 350, somewhere in there. You want to land on a northwesterly heading.
That's exactly what Mr. Skip was talking about. Mr. Skip, he asked a perfect good question. He said, you think you can land on sand? And I said, yeah, that's exactly what Mr. Skip was talking about. You can come in, slow, flaps down, real slow.
You can land on sand.
Yeah.
Some sand, like on the beach, the closer you are to the water, the harder the sand. And the further away from the water, the softer the
See what he's doing.
Bob your wheel down in the sand, so you have to do what we call a soft field landing. You got to keep that nose up and keep the nose off the ground, not high.
Get her in front
Off
of
the
the yoke.
ground as long as
Can you slide, you move the chest?
you. Yeah.
In front of
Okay, does everybody know which way the wind is coming from on your computer? You want to land into the wind.
Huh? Yeah, this way your way comes.
The wind determines which way you land. You land into the wind. That's going to give you the shortest ground roll. Okay. What I'm going to do, don't do it yet, wait till I tell you. I'm going to tell you to pull the power or turn the pause off and pull the power all the way back. Don't do that yet. Just wait a minute. When I tell you, you turn the cars off, you reduce the power all the way back. The first thing you do is get 70 knots. Maintain altitude until you have 70 knots.
Okay, how you gonna do that? How you gonna get 70 knots? If you're down at 50, if you're up at, say, 80 knots, how you gonna get to 70? Put it down, you already do a 70.
You can also,
80.
angle
Once it goes down, what's gonna happen? You're gonna go faster. So that means you have to raise your nose, get up to the 70 knots, and then hold it there. Okay?
Up and down. No, right here.
Get 70 knots and hold it. Trim for 70, keep your 70 knots, then go through your checklist procedure. I'm not going to have you do that because you don't understand it. You haven't been taught that. I don't expect you to know it. So, get your 70 knots, look out the window and find a place that you think you can land this airplane and not get hurt. Start going to that place at 70 knots. Keeping in mind, just like he said, if you put the nose down, your speed is going to increase. You don't want to go faster. You want to go slower. You want 70 knots. Okay. Everybody understand? Everybody ready? Okay. Maintain altitude. Pause off. Pause off. Power all the way back. Power off. Don't shut the engine down. Just turn the power off. There you go. Simulate. Power back, throttle all the way back. Maintain 70 knots. Trim. Trim for 70. Trim for 70. Get your 70 knots. Now, look for a place to land. Choose a place that you think you can land. Maintain 70 knots. Now, which way is the wind blowing from? You want to land into the wind. So you want to orient the airplane where it's going to go to the spot that you choose to land, and you want to face into the wind. Land into the wind, 70 knots.
Right around
70 knots. Get your 70 knots.
I stay at 5,000.
Good job. Good job. 70 knots. You're going to land into the wind. Get over the place that you are going to land. When you get it under you, you want to start a gentle left circle. Circle over that place at 70 knots. Just circle around in a fairly large circle. And you want to roll out on a left downwind for the spot that you're going to land into the wind. Nice gentle turn. Remember, the steeper the turn, the more altitude you're going to lose. You want to roll out on downwind about 2,000 feet. At 70 knots. At 70 knots. Land this way or this way?
Watch it altitude. Get your airspeed so you'll make it on here.
Now remember,
Alright.
if you push the nose down, you're going to increase your speed. Keep your speed. Speed is a key. 70 knots. Not 110, 70 knots. You're a little bit fast. Sir? No, just raise the nose. You don't want to put the flaps in yet. Where are you? Oh, you're about 50. Yeah, okay, you can put in 1 notch of flap. I thought you were higher. 1 notch of flap. Maintain 70 knots. You should know that, girl. That girl. Maintain 70 knots. If you push the nose down, you're going to increase speed. You'll run off the end of the area. All right, put some flaps in there. Put them all in. You're going way too fast. Keep it up. That girl, down, down, down. Don't let that nose that far down. Keep your nose up. Keep your nose up. Okay? Okay, you don't have much room to make a turn. Go down on that road. That a girl. Nice gentle turn. Good job. Good job. Nice gentle turn. Keep that airspeed. You're doing good. You're doing good. That a girl. Look at her. Be gentle. Be gentle. Break. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, get the room, hit the room, and go back up to 5,000 feet. Going back to 5,000 feet. Oh. What's the deal? The sun go down, you're dark. Okay. do exactly the same thing without me telling you. You figure it out, you get to 5,000, you're gonna have an engine failure, get your airspeed. That's the big key.
Yeah.
Airspeed. Maintain that speed. Don't let it go faster, don't let it go slower. You usually are gonna let it go faster until you get close to the ground, and then you're gonna let it go slower and stall out. So get back up to 5,000, get yourself set up, and practice that again.
Everybody forgets that. Once they get to 5,000, we'll go ahead and just do it.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. You get to 5, go ahead and
Okay, y'all pick your spot. So when I pick your spot, go ahead and land.
go ahead and start your procedure. Get ready to go.
What's about that time, Bill?
Huh?
About that time?
Just about 15 minutes.
Yeah, she's here already.
This will be the last one for us, we'll feel it.
Yeah, this is their last one. Okay. Where's he at? Almost 5,000. You're looking for your spot somewhere, okay?
Yeah, she's climbing a 5.
You might want to get rid of that thing so she can get on the left side. This so she can see. Maybe a spot out here. She can so she can see. How you put about how it is? Oh, sure, man. Yes, right. That time, you get a rest. Go to the nearest runway and take off. We're going to get on that flight line, that flight path.
brake. There you go. I think the nearest runway is just going to be to the right. See the opening right there? Straight ahead. Get off the grass, man. Not in your right. Follow the yellow brick road. Down that way. Hang a right. Slow down. Put your throttle down. Hang right, right. There you go. Just follow the yellow brick road. I think that's runway 8, I think, I'm not sure. Right here, that's where we're going. What runway is that? Yep, runway 08. Stop. Brakes on, rub the engine up all the way. Power, hold your brakes, rub the engine up. Get about 2,500 RPMs. That's all you're checking for. Okay, you're good. Let off. Head on out to the runway, not to flaps, typically. And the correct way to take off, you stop, hold your brakes all the way down, throttle all the way up, and you get to about 2,500 and let go. That's how you really take off. There you go. We're just getting in the air. Had him start playing up the right way. Good. You want us to get up to what's the altitude roughly about?
Do what?
Roughly, your altitude roughly about what?
5,000, go up to 5, and that'd give them plenty of time to get to the ground.
Okay.
The airspeed's a big deal,
Yeah.
because they're gonna wanna go there quickly, and you gotta really hold it back.
65 to 70 knots.
That's your Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Man, that visual, that's visual.
Yeah. I like them. At the one in my house, I fly that thing every night because of the scenery. I love it. I fly low altitude just to look at the scenery. Bill does too, only he doesn't have the 3 screens. He has one low flat screen.
Yeah.
All right, man, like Mr. Skip said, get on up to 5,000. Fly that flight plan though. Yeah, there you go. You're on it. Oh, here we go. The autopilot should work. Go ahead and dial in 5,000 altitude. And vertical speed, make that about 200. Maybe 300. Okay. Now go ahead and put it on heading. That switch. Go ahead and hit go ahead and hit AP just one time. Now hit heading. Did it take? I don't think. Are we on it? We're not on it. I don't think you hit heading. Hit heading. There you go. Now you're gonna have to get your heading to match that line. You know what I mean? All right. So we're 1,400 and climbing. It ain't have to be exact, just roughly. Let's change our vertical speed to 400.
You're at 5. Okay.
There you go. And to make our airplane climb even more, okay, we're climbing at 80 knots. That's good. Of course, the more we increase our angle of attack, we're also going to decrease the airspeed, so we don't want the angle of attack to be too high. So we're flying the boring way.
Now, what you want to
What
do
we can do now is just enjoy the scenery.
is you want to be aware.
Then when you get to five, look at that, man, look at that over there. Don't that look good? Once we get to 5,000 knots, 5,000 feet, then we can take it off of autopilot and kill the engine, and you're gonna find some place to land. Huh? Yeah, that's hey. When you fly, man, you're constantly looking around just in case this happens. Especially when you're over water. I would hate flying over water. If I was flying somewhere, I would kind of make sure, if I had to make a flight plan that was near the water, I'd make sure it's on the edge. I hate flying over water. These guys with these big commercial jets, you know, going overseas, they gotta fly over water. I'd hate it. There's no place to go except the water. You're smack dab in the middle, middle of the ocean.
You think it's possible to land on sand?
On sand?
Yeah.
With what? Which plane?
Cessna.
Yeah, I think you can, as long as you come like he said, flaps down, come in slow as you can. That way, instead of coming in fast with your flaps down, you can kind of like stall it. So you kind of like coming down like helo, you know what I mean? Slow airspeeds. Now you're gonna bump it. You're not gonna come down on wheels and just roll. You might flip, but at least you'll be able to survive it. Yeah, it can be done. Yeah, no doubt. That's exactly what Mrs. Skip was talking about. Coming, Mr. Skip, he asked a perfect good question. He said, "You think you can land on sand?" And I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what Mr. Skip was talking about. You come in, slow, flaps down, real slow.
You can land on sand.
Yeah.
Some sand, like on the beach, the closer you are to the water, the harder the sand. And if the further away from the water, the softer the sand. And you could bog the nose wheel down in the sand, so you have to do what we call a soft field landing. You got to keep that nose up and keep the nose off of the ground, not high off the ground, just off of the ground as long as you can. But yeah, it'll work.
Yeah. Okay, man, almost, what are we at, 3,000 and
Everybody
climbing?
know which way the wind's coming from on your computer. You want to land into the wind. Wind determines which way you land. Land into the wind. That's going to give you the shortest
Okay, 3,500 and climbing.
Okay. What I'm going to do, don't do it yet, wait till I tell you. I'm going to tell you to pull the power all the way, turn the pause off, pull the power all the way back. Don't do that yet. Just wait a minute. When I tell you, turn the pause off, you can reduce the power all the way back. The first thing you do is get 70 knots. Maintain altitude until you have 70 knots.
How you gonna do that? How you gonna get 70 knots? Down at 50, I mean, you up at, say, 80 knots, how you gonna get to 70?
1,000 more to go.
Down, you already doing 70.
You can also increase your angle of attack by hitting
It's gonna go faster.
FLC at the bottom,
Raise your nose and get up to the 70 knots.
then hit up. On the right hand, you got up and down. No, right here. Right next to FLC, you got down and up. You see them?
And hold it.
See FLC?
Trim for 70.
To the right, up, yeah, right there. You gotta hit FSC again. There you go. That'll increase your angle of attack. Yeah. If you want to go up more. But when you do that, you gotta watch your airspeed, because when you raise your nose up, you're gonna decrease your airspeed.
Get your 70 knots.
Just to let you know. Then if you want to go down, same scenario, you click, hit a FLC, then down.
And not get hurt. Start going.
When I fly on my home simulator, I'm constantly doing FLC.
Keeping in mind,
My angle of attack can be so
just like he
not
said,
high
if you
enough.
put the nose down, your speed is going to increase.
All right.
You don't want to go faster. You You wanna go slower?
All right, man, we're roughly there. Go ahead and hit AP. Oh, pull your throttle down first a little bit. If you hit AP, it's gonna go crazy. Right about there. Now hit AP.
Maintain altitude.
Is the plane yours?
Pause off.
There you go. Now, what we're gonna do,
Pause off.
kill the engine, man. Kill the engine. You can do it like that, or you cut it off. There you go.
Power all the way back. Power off. Don't shut the engine down. Just turn the power on. There you go.
There we go.
Simulation.
You're dead.
Power back, throttle all
Got
the way
nothing.
back. Maintain 70 knots.
You should be anyway.
Trim. Trim for 70. Trim for 70. Get your 70 knots. Now
You gotta find some place to land.
Choose a place that you think you can land.
Hey,
Maintain 70 knots.
I don't know why you still got propeller. You have nothing.
70 knots. Now, which way is the wind blowing from? You want to land into the wind.
What are you talking about for the,
You want to orient the airplane
It could be.
where it's
Right,
going
could
to
be.
go to the spot
You're right, that's
that
what it
you
is.
choose to land.
So I'm gonna go on
You
this
want to
only
face
because
into the wind. Land into the wind, 70 knots.
There we go. Click that one button to the left, the red one, all the way down.
70 knots.
All the way down. There you
Get
Killed
your
everything.
70 knots. Yeah. Yeah. 70 knots.
How fast you going?
Into the wind.
go. 60 knots? Okay.
Get over the place that you are going to land. When you get
Yeah, you definitely got to figure out how you're going to come in.
You want to start.
'Cause it's gonna roll.
middle Left circle.
And you want to have some flaps down when you come in.
Circle
At least
over
2
that
notches,
place.
maybe 3, man. If it's not a big field.
70 knots. Just circle around in a fairly large circle.
Yeah, I definitely put all the flaps down. All
You
of it.
want to roll out on the left downwind for
You're not low enough.
the spot that you're going to land.
There you
in
go.
the wind.
You got to bleed off some of that airspeed because you want to come in slow. Right now you're coming in at 75. Now, okay, you got it. That looks good. You got enough space.
Remember, the steeper the turn, the more altitude you're going to lose.
You're about 75 knots.
Use your foot too. Use your left foot, and that'll help you turn. You want to roll out on downwind about 2,000 feet.
Watch that tree line, buddy.
At 70 knots. At 70 knots.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it was. Okay, you made it. Go ahead, stop it. Then start it back up.
Which way you going to land? Which direction? Land this way or this way? Okay.
There you go. There it is. Let's do it again.
If you push the nose down,
Where am I going?
you're going to
Where am I
increase
going
your
to?
speed.
Anywhere at 5,000.
Keep your speed. Speed is the key. 70 knots.
I tell you what we can do. Follow that, once you get airborne,
70 knots.
follow that flight plan. You see where you're at, right? On the 750? Just get back on that flight plan, but at 5,000 feet. In other words, bank to the left.
No, just wait, no. Where are you? Oh, you're about 50. Yeah, okay, you can put in one.
I don't think that autopilot will work again. Because typically once you hit AP one time, it won't take on the second. But you know what? Let's see if it does. Go ahead and put 5,000 feet back in their altitude. Watch your nose. Okay. 4,000 vertical speed. Go ahead and hit AP.
If you push your nose down,
One time. Hit heading.
You're gonna run off the end of the area.
Let go to yoke. Okay, it took. Good. Wonderful.
All right, put some
Okay.
taps in there.
It took.
All in it.
Let's see.
Way
Need some more vertical. What's some vertical speed on there?
400.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Now.
Let's see, look at our angle of attack. We're at
That far down. Just the nose
hit
up.
flight level
Nose up.
change and give us some up a little bit. Go ahead and hit up.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more. Look at your airspeed. See how it's decreasing because you're increasing the angle of attack. Good. Okay, look at your heading, look at your 750, and you're gonna have to bank. There you go. Perfect, man. Oh, hold it right there before you do any more. You see the flight plan? That's Pensy. That's one of our waypoints. So guess what? This is how we know how we're supposed to turn. Pensy is 350. C-dub is 269er. So we're going to C-dub. We get the Pensy, you dial in 269er down there. You probably dial in it right about now. Dial in 269er. There it is. That's how we do our directions. And so on and so on. All these will be the same because they're on the same flight line. C-dub, Loxley, and all those. They're all these are the same. 269, 269. Until we get the Zug tie, that's going to be 268. Then we'll be on 253. Let's see, say for instance, we're going to land on runway.
Back in the air, go back to 5,000.
ILS 333. Well, I'm not going to confuse right now. Okay. Get this off. Okay, 3,000 and climbing. I think 3,000 feet should be high enough because you know what? You can lose your engine at 2,000 feet or 1,000 feet. So when it gets to 3,000 feet, take it off autopilot and then find a place to land.
All right now, y'all do exactly the same thing without me telling you. You figure it out, you get to 5,000, you're gonna have an
There you go.
engine failure. Get your airspeed. That's the big key. Airspeed. Maintain that speed. Don't let it go faster. Don't let it go slower. Usually you're going to let it go faster until you get close to the ground, and then you're going to let it go slower and stall out. So get back up to 5,000, get yourself set up, and practice that again.
Looking good, man. Looks like that same spot, huh? Of course, our prop is still turning because of the into the wind. Kill the engine. Or did we?
That airspeed nailed, man.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's a big deal. Gives you more time to think. Yeah, go ahead and do it. 55. Go ahead and go ahead and start your procedure. Get ready to go.
What's about that time, bro? About that time?
15 minutes.
All right. Man, it's warm back here. You want a fan?
You got the fan on?
Got to, man. All right, man. Start it back up and go up again.
Moms and dads are coming.
I doubt it. I think we slipped this time. Didn't tell nobody. Went back. I forgot about it, really.
Yeah. All right, start it up and go back up one more time.
We had to kill it.
Oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing. This thing, man.
My grandma.
All right. This will be the last one for us. We'll kill it.
Yeah, this is
Yeah. One more time, man. Get up to about 2,000. Do another stall, then we're gonna do this ceremony thing again. Hey man, you got Flight Simulator in your house? No, why not? You just, huh? You don't have a computer? Huh. I thought you of all people would have a...
There you go. Now you can see that.
All right, yeah. Well, yeah, 500 more and kill it. See, man, if you had something like this in your house, I think you'd be really more into this thing. And with Microsoft 2020, with the graphics being the way they are, you'd really get into it. As I explained, it's obsolete. It sucks. Right about there. All right.
Which way the wind blowing? We'll land into the wind. So are you going straight into the wind now?
Oh, that's yeah.
Okay. 70 knots. 70 knots. Which way the wind blowing? airspeed, 70 knots. You're gonna land into the wind. Into the wind.
Oh, you got a different spot this time, huh? I know where you're going too. I thought you was going to the left. Those are trees. You're not gonna make that field. You talking about that field straight ahead? I don't think you're gonna. Well, what's your altitude? You at 1,000? You're gonna put some. I don't know, man. That's kind of far away. You got that one to the if you bank left, but hey, we'll see. We'll see. That little strip right there. See it? There, yeah, that little between that. You might make that one though. I doubt it. Look how low you are. See how low you are? You ain't gonna make that down there, man. Get you some flaps down too. Yeah, see that right there? You can get in between that. Or the one farther to the left. That one's good. Either one. You got to stick with one because you don't have a lot of time to respond.
This one's better.
Yeah. Yeah, when you go dead stick, as they call it, you got to be looking. Where do I have to go? Where am I going to go? You got to look out for telephone lines, cars, houses, all kind of crap. See, right now you're landing on some tree area. That looks kind of soft. Yeah. Okay, there it is. You got it. You got lucky. Use your feet. Use your feet.
Hey, you're right side up. Good job.
Okay, all right. We're about ready to do this thing here, man. Did a good job, Brendan. Yeah.
You're going to be landing into the wind. You want to try to land into the wind. You'd rather not land with a crosswind or a tailwind. However, sometimes you don't have a choice.
I'd like to say that.
You're doing good. Watch that airspeed. Watch that airspeed.
She's gonna land anywhere.
Are you going back to 5,000? Let her. Can't let her make the decision. It's up to her. You and you too. You're in. She doesn't need three people telling her what to do. That doesn't work.
Behind video, three voices.
She's lining that sucker up. Airspeed nailed. Okay, you're gonna have to put in some flaps pretty soon. You got flaps in yet? Go ahead and get them in there. Perfect. Let it climb.
So short. His head barely goes over this. The one in there.
Gently break that glide. Gently break the glide. Let it girl. Break the glide. Raise the nose. Raise the nose.
All right.
Get him, sir.
job.
Brandon.
Because that's
All those systems got one.
Good job.
Populations in here.
This,
All right.
the engine failure.
Did you have fun? Good. What'd you learn? About the engines? Wow, what'd you learn about the engine? What do you think about the engine? How about you? What'd you learn?
Today.
Huh?
Today.
Okay. See what you learned. How about you?
Today.
I don't care, anytime. You've been here for 2 weeks.
I've learned about like how the engines work and how to fly a plane properly because this
Okay. What'd you learn?
I understand flight patterns better, traffic patterns better.
Traffic pattern, downwind, upwind, crosswind, base leg. Good. How about you? Did you learn anything? What? Stalls, how to recover from stall, big deal. Big deal. How about you? Speed. I tell you what, guys, if you take anything away from here about aviation, you've got to maintain speed. Speed, speed, speed. The airplane moving through the air at or greater than a certain speed is what keeps it in the air. You got two sources of power. What are they? The engine and gravity. Which one would you rather have? Engine. Why? You're limited with gravity. When you get to the ground, it ain't gonna work no more. Okay? That's good. Okay. Any questions? Any questions at all? All right.
all right, guys, once again, it's graduation time, okay? We want to thank you guys for joining us again this year. Those of you who are new, thank you for coming. Those of you who have been here, thank you for coming back, okay? So this year, it's just Skip did most of the presentations, and, you know, I think it's only fitting that he gives you guys your certificates, okay? So as I call your name, if you'll come up here and he'll present you your certificate. Mr. Brendan Gibbs. And forgive me if I don't mention his last name right, because I'm not the best reader.
Okay. Come right here. All right. Here's your graduation certificate. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that. And thanks a lot. You did us a big favor. You helped out, and we're really glad to have you. And we appreciate your participation. Thank you.
Let's give him a hand, y'all. Isaiah.
I don't know about you. You did good, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. You helped out.
You did.
You helped guide the others, and you helped them in some of the things and imparting your knowledge, and we appreciate that. And thank you. And we hope to take advantage of that again. Okay?
Oh, by the way, he's going to be one of our mentors next month. He will no longer be a student.
Good.
Okay, I gave him the certificate, didn't call your name. Come on.
Cayman also has made a big effort here. He's helped all of us. He's helped us. He's helped the other students. We appreciate that. Here's your wage. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Jeremiah, where you at, my man?
Come around here, son. Now, you did a great job. You did a great job. I used to think he was a professor, Now you're professor number 2. You did good. You really did good. Here's your certificate. And here's your wing. Put them in that hand right there. And give me a good old handshake, okay? Thanks a lot.
By the way, for a 9-year-old, stellar performance for a 9-year-old.
He did good for a 40-year-old.
Oh, Miss Talia.
You in a hurry? Come around here. Okay, here's your certificate. And here's your wing. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, and we appreciate having you. We're looking forward to you coming back. That's fun.
2 days. 2 days. She flew really good for 2 days here. That wasn't bad. Okay, we got Elijah. Come on up, my man.
This guy's hot stuff. You did good, Ray. Here.
Better known as a professor.
Yep.
Professor. There you go. Thank you. Thank you so much. You did good. You helped your brothers. You helped everyone, and we appreciate having you. You just did a good job.
All right.
Last but not least, you know, we always say the cutest and the best for last. Nah, I'm just kidding. Miss Ingrid.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you so much for coming and spending the time with us, and I hope you learned a lot. Thank you very much. And we're looking forward to you coming back. Okay? You be sure to come back. Thank you.
Okay, guys, that concludes the graduation. Once again, I want to thank you all for coming. Hope to see you next month when we start the last class for this year. Okay? I did mention McCain. He's also coming back as a mentor, and so will Brandon. So we got 3 people who've advanced to positions of mentor, which is a good accomplishment. You know, it's not easy. Okay? But the person I want to thank the most is a rock star in this group, and that's Mr. Skip.
Oh, yeah.
Since Skip has joined this program, it has, I mean, it's jumped up there. Even Mr. Jackson and I have learned a lot of stuff from him, and you all know that he's a certified pilot. So it's, I mean, I can fly airplanes, I just don't have a license. You know, I'm not going to steal one. I promise you I won't. Okay? But we thank you, Mr. Skip. We want to once again wish you a very happy birthday, sir.
So thank you so much. I got a birthday cake today, huh? Wow.
Guys, anything that you need from us, you need to talk to us about anything, if you want to continue flying at home, if you have a computer and you're capable of doing it, I think most of you guys should have our number. If you don't, I'll give you a card before we depart here today. Call us, we'll be more than happy to help. Okay?
And it's not only about airplanes. You just need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Call. We'd be happy to talk with you.
Well, sometimes you can talk to other people that you can't, about some things you can't talk to your parents about, and if your parents are okay with it, we'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. Because we care, just like your parents do, we care about you too. That's why we do this, because we care about kids. We care about your success, okay? We care about your future. We care about you, okay? Physically, mentally. Can't do that with you financially because I'm broke.
Let me say one thing about that. These 2 guys that started this program, they like flight simulators. They enjoy flight simulators. There's no money involved in this program. Everything they do on their own. They come up with the programs, they come up with the simulators, they come up with the hardware, the software, all of it. We don't do money. You mix money and bureaucrats and you got problems. We're not doing money and we're not doing bureaucrats. We're interested in kids that want to play computer games about airplanes. And that's what we want to do. And we do it because we like doing it. And these guys have just been rock stars in making it happen. Give them a hand.
All right, that will conclude the graduation, and for those of you who are coming back, we'll see you next month.